Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, live as opposed to dead, once again here in Mackey Arena, where tonight the Big Ten ACC Challenge, or is it the ACC Big Ten Challenge? I can never keep it straight. Anyway, whichever challenge it was not much of a challenge for Purdue, which defeated Florida State 93-65. This is your rap video following that game. It's brought to you once again by our friends at the Purdue Union Club Hotel and the 811 restaurant. We appreciate their support very much. We'd appreciate it if you'd reciprocate that support and support them. It was very well articulated on my part. Anyway, Purdue again defeats Florida State 93-65. I know everybody wanted Duke. I'm sure ESPN woke up this morning wanting Duke and Purdue. But I thought all along that Florida State was going to be a really good game for Purdue. Not necessarily in terms of how the game plays out or whatever, but the experience of it. The one thing people ought to keep in mind about non-conference play is you're trying to win, obviously. It's very important to win, especially when you're in a situation like Purdue's in right now, where you're playing for the highest strata of seeding possible to the NCAA tournament. But I thought playing these guys the way Florida State plays, I thought all along would be a very good experience for this Purdue team to be guarded the way Florida State guards. Remember, most of this team has never played Florida State. A few of these guys have in the past, but the Jaden Iveys, the Brandon Newmans, the Mason Gillises, the Zach Eady's obviously have never played against Florida State. I thought this would be a good experience for them to have to raise their level to the level of intensity that Florida State and physicality that Florida State typically plays with. I thought this sort of outcome was possible. I didn't know if I'd ever think it was likely, but I think the biggest revelation from this game it's not really a revelation. It is the fact that Purdue has all the makings of an elite offensive college basketball team. Elite. Like best of the best type of stuff. They are currently, it's only been 7 games. It's still the portion of the season where reality can get warped by a lot of things. But you look at who Purdue's played now. Florida State is never a pushover. They were down some guys, obviously, but I can't imagine that having anything to do with the outcome. Had those guys all been here tonight. The outcome in terms of who won, not necessarily the margin. I'm sure Florida State would have kept this a little bit closer than they probably did had they been whole. But Florida State, Villanova, North Carolina, the 3 mid-majors you played to start the season were all at least respectable types of programs. Not the Chicago States, not the Maryland Eastern Shores, people like that. And Purdue they're number 1 in the country in points per possession. They're number 1 on KenPom in offensive efficiency now. And they look the part. If you watch them, what you see matches up with the analytics perfectly, because this is an outstanding offensive college basketball team with all the makings of a elite and sustainable sort of attack. What was really interesting about this game today, to me, was I thought Purdue struggled more offensively in this game than they have in just about any other game. Maybe that stretch in the second half against Villanova. But I thought Florida State actually did a respectable job knocking them out of their initial offense at times. And Purdue scored anyway. It didn't matter, because you have guys who make plays at the end of shot clocks now. You got playmakers. You can get to the foul line. Your offensive rebounding is going to be some of the best in college basketball this year. You have so many different avenues of offensive productivity that this can be a really resourceful offensive basketball team when it has to be. They can get out in transition. They can play in the half court. They can play through the post. They can shoot. They can play inside out. They can play outside in. Jaden Ivey can break down a defense off the dribble, which the statistic won't show you the sort of impact he had doing that tonight. They play really well together. They make extra passes. They were too unselfish at times tonight. They just have it all offensively. The one thing Purdue's lacked over the years at times was that really dynamic guard who can go make plays. Well, they've got him now, and for a few more months anyway. And they've just got it all offensively. And again, it's like when you stop Purdue tonight, Purdue scored anyway. If you can get 93 on Florida State, you can get a lot of points on damn near anybody. And, Big Ten play starts here this weekend, and that time is going to come probably where you have to start winning these games 72-67, whatever it might be. But I've been saying that for a bunch of weeks now, and I've been saying for a few weeks that one of the real true tests for this team is when they shoot bad, how do they respond? Can they go win a game on defense? You don't have to do it if it never happens. And, for as steady and as consistent as Purdue has been shooting the basketball from three-point range, and as foundational as what they have in the post is, this is sustainable. This is going to be one of the best offensive teams in college basketball this year. The one thing they have to worry about is they got casual with the basketball too often today. A lot of stuff that Florida State didn't have anything to do with. Normally, Florida State is the instigator on your turnovers. I thought Purdue just got generally sloppy a little bit. They perhaps just not as sharp as they needed to be. But that also underscores my initial point here in that Purdue threw away a layup, they threw away a dunk, and they missed a dunk. And that's 6 points right there. And the 6 points is the difference between 99 and 93 points. You still scored 93 points despite those three possessions that you couldn't convert the easiest of shots. But I did think Purdue got a little casual at times with the ball. I thought there was just some general sloppiness, and that's the sort of thing that if they ever come back to earth for at least one game from an offensive perspective, that's the stuff that you really have to be on top of, because I don't know if Purdue's ever going to be a really good defensive team this year. I don't know if it's ever going to matter if Purdue can just keep outscoring everyone, although I think that is taken a little bit for granted because the big things do always change when Big Ten play starts. But I think that I don't know if Purdue's ever going to be a really good defensive team this year, but I can tell you this for sure, that their best defense can be a good offense. I don't just mean that to say that they can outscore everyone, which they very well might be able to for all we know at this point. But what I mean is you got to keep the easy stuff for opponents to an absolute minimum. Purdue, gifted Florida State at least 2 transition breakaway layups or dunks or whatever they were, and that was, a couple of baskets when Florida State otherwise was struggling to score a little bit against Purdue's half-court defense. Nitpicking here. When you're scoring 93 points and the blowhard on the computer out on the floor is talking about your 13 turnovers, you're a pretty good basketball team. But I always think it's appropriate that when a team is rolling, like the way Purdue's rolling right now, is to try to shine a light on maybe some of the things that could eventually manifest themselves into something negative. And but at this point in time, Purdue's 7-0. They're looking really good doing it. Florida State is a good program. It is a good, proud program. And as I said before, if you can put 93 on Florida State, you can put 93 on, damn near anybody. And I just think that speaks volumes about where this team is, both from a firepower perspective, but also the way they're playing offensively. When you look at how under control Purdue was at times, when you look at the way they played off their shot fakes, when you look at the way that they went deep into shot clocks looking for the right shot and then made a play when they needed to, I think that's an offensive savvy. Ethan Morton, I thought, was fantastic in that stretch in the second half. His passing really showed up during that really decisive stretch after Florida State got within 8. I just think you see a real savvy offensively in this team too, but also a real tenacity. I don't know. I think Caleb Furst has like this kind of shape changer thing going where he just kind of pops up from out of nowhere, whether it's at the rim offensively or above the rim on the offensive glass. Mason Gillis is the same way. Those guys just come crashing in like Batman, on the offensive glass. They just have a knack. This team has a knack for doing good, smart things on offense or doing really effort-driven things on offense as well. That's what I mean by their general resourcefulness from an offensive perspective. Today, I thought they struggled to score more than they had in just about any game this season at times. They found a way anyway. They scored anyway. And when you have this many weapons and you have this many avenues for offense and you're this talented, you're in a pretty good spot. So, again, 93 points on Florida State is equivalent to about 120 on Iowa Friday night. I don't know how that game's going to go. I know Iowa is very good offensively, as they always are. But if they defend anything like what they normally do on defense, Purdue might score. Purdue's finally going to get 100. It's funny, they've been flirting with 100 so many times this season. They just can never get to that century mark. They don't care one bit, but it is an interesting little superlative for me to talk about. That's what I got from this here. 93-65 Purdue win over Florida State. I did want to mention something real quick. You know, I'm okay at these videos, I guess. People seem to like them. What I really suck at is marketing. I never remind people who are watching this, hey, we have a website, goldenblack.com. You might consider going to that and signing up. If you are into this enough where you're watching this idiot here talk to you about these games afterwards, you'd probably like the product we put out at goldenblack.com. There's a lot more than this after games. There's tons of recruiting stuff. There's constant conversation with some of the smartest and most distinguished people you'll ever interact with ever in your life. I mean that, honestly. And just lots of good stuff there. I think you'd like it. So go visit goldenblack.com if you haven't already. Check this out, and I think you'll like it. Also, go check out the Purdue Union Club Hotel and the 811 Restaurant, and I think you'll like them too. So thank you to them for their support, and thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening, and thank you for processing our materials. However it is you process our materials. I don't know why I throw the pen down at the end. For emphasis, I guess. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com. I'll talk to you again late Friday night after Purdue opens Big Ten play against Iowa. Thanks, everybody.